Dun, 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 go tell it on the mountain. Go tell it on the mountain. Go tell it on the mountain. Easy D6 is here. Go tell it on the mountain. Go nibble on the mountain. If you live upon a mountain, Easy D6 is here. La, 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 la. Turkey bacon on the mountain, and whey protein on the mountain. Blending my oat milk on the mountain with frozen bananas and peanut butter. Go tell it on the mountain. Nibble on a great big mountain. Turkey bacon on the mountain and whey protein in my beer. There we go. One more for the kids in the back. Go tell it on the mountain. Go nibble on the mountain. If you like monkeys on the mountain, put whey protein in beer. Oh, what an ending to that. That really came together there toward the end. Greetings, programs. My name is Anchor Infernail. Welcome back to Runehammer. Drunkards and Dragons, as it was once known, still known in some circles. Everything you see here, all this, look at all this splendor. There's cardboard boxes everywhere because of pure chaos here in Runehammer land. There's Chutney. Okay, so Chutney's just existing back there, and I'm Ingrid Bernal, your old buddy here. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hello, and happy Friday to y'all. Wow. If you probably caught my my rainstorm stream last night. That was crazy. Got home to the Easy D6 Book of Quests proofs being in a giant puddle by my house. There was a brief moment of total terror as I noticed that these books had been all but submerged in rainwater. So recovered those, and by some miracle of cardboard technology, it was all fine. They were totally fine inside their soaked card. I don't know how that's even possible. Corrugated cardboard is a miracle drug. Anyway, so yeah, I just had to jump on YouTube last night real quick and holler at everybody and say, go tell it on the mountain, you guys, because the proofs are here. And if you'll check the description on this video, very happy to announce that Easy D6, the Book of Quests, is finally released. Man, did that take a long time. But you know, I'm not really here to talk about all that. I talked about that last night. I even saw in the comments the other day, someone is like, hey, you're only on YouTube nowadays when you're selling something or whatever. And if it feels that way, well, I'm sorry. Well, I'm sorry, because that is not my intent. It is not like the old days, though. Let me just be absolutely clear. I am not banging out room design videos, like basically working 60 or more, 80 hours a week, filming and editing videos. That is the reality of what you see for a lot of heavy hitter YouTube channels, in case that isn't just common knowledge. A lot of these heavy hitter YouTube channels not only are more than one person, they're whole teams of people banging out the filming of the videos and then all the editing. It is a never ending, it is a very deep challenge. And I'll tell you what, it is the core activity when that's what you're doing. And I have changed. So if anybody who is like a fan in my early days feels like I have changed now, I have. And I want to be totally upfront with it. My goal was never to be an awesome YouTuber. That was totally not the intention. My goal was to do what I really enjoy doing, which is like making books, curating as well as creating artwork for RPG and fantasy sci-fi type projects, working on, this is ridiculous to say, but things like typeface concepts and layout concepts and stuff like that. And room design on YouTube was really a way of me kind of saying hi to the world. Room design absolutely goes on uninterrupted, y'all. It's not created for edited videos with funny jump cuts. Room design is back to being my life as an RPG hobbyist. So if it feels like I fell off the wagon of making things like room design videos. Yeah, I kind of did, but YouTube has always been just a gateway for me to get into what I really wanted to be doing, which is creating books and really just delving into the hobby itself in a more deep and robust way, not spending all my time looking at myself and editing footage of myself, which I got to say can get very weird. So, so I apologize to everyone if like what you really wanted out of Runehammer was endless, creativity videos. But it's definitely just was never my goal. My goal was always to be a bookmaker, a publisher, a printing press kind of a mindset, as well as an author, as well as an artist and stuff. That's really all along what I was wanting to do. I think those early days of YouTube were just like a very aggressive greeting to the world. So who knows, those days may return, especially if I can get some professional help with editing and stuff like that. But honestly, that is not necessarily where I'm wanting to go. And so I invite everybody to build a personal relationship with me, not necessarily one made through edited videos in the kind of video sphere that is honestly so dense these days. A little crazy. So, anyways, that's just a little preamble. But I'm gonna have to say, fuck all that. Remember, this channel's for adults. We can drop F bombs whenever we want. And let's get to what we're talking about because it has been a minute. So tasty. So, where the hell have I been? What's been going on? You guys have probably noticed I always have these insane outages, but this one was lunacy. So, as many of you know, I live in the great city of Philadelphia, PA, right here on the east coast of the USA. And for various tactical reasons and for building up to some lifelong dream type stuff that I would like to accomplish, before I'm too dang old, I was going to move back to my mountain house in Washington State. And I was going to basically, regroup and reconnoiter, reconnect with friends and all this good stuff. But after considering the impact that I can have on others and how I can help some of my family members and the way that things have gone and changed and just have gone through this whole existential journey this past 3 weeks. It's been completely insane, by the way. Also a logistical journey, not just existential. Well, anyways, the long and the short of it is I am not moving back to the Great Cascades. I'm going to stay here in mighty, mighty Philly and lay down some roots here in Philly, PA. I'll tell you, it's just like that crazy dude in Skyfall said to Bond. It's like, once you change a rat that much, is no longer a rat that eats coconuts. He's now a rat that eats other rats. You have changed his nature. That's me. That's me. I've changed a lot. I freaking love this city, and you're gonna see me riding my bike around in this city. So if you see me ride by, holler at, give me that fist bump. I actually had a great moment the other day. I was taking a map over to my friend's house, and somebody just walked up to me on the street. This is a little weird, with a big grin on his face. He said, "Yo, Hankerin, Runehammer, I love your YouTube channel." I was like, "Oh yeah, what's up, man? This is actually the house where we play." And he was just like, "What? Really?" Just like, "Yeah, man. We'll see you around, I guess." And I realized he lived like 2 doors down, so that was pretty funny. I imagine I'll wind up meeting him in the bar or something eventually. Yeah. So that is why I've been so stinking busy and in pure chaos mode. Like I had to get everything that I own ready to move across the continent, including like my motorcycle, my car, all this stuff, and then cancel all of that, start to get everything back out of the boxes. I mean, everybody out there can imagine how chaotic this is. So just kind of went through that and finally getting this Zen back together. And I got to say, after that mindset of thinking you're about to move, which is super stressful and nerve-wracking and chaotic, and then it just suddenly goes away and you don't have to move and you're in your spot and you know your house. I know the rats that live back here. I know my dumpster guy. He wears the scally and comes out every morning, and I give him the top of the morning to him. And I know the bums here. They still insist on stealing my protein powder. What? So cruel. Don't steal my proteins, bro. Anyways, it's just, your neighborhood. So back to living that neighborhood life here in Philly. So that's kind of what I've been up to. But also games, y'all, It's been forever. So I'm pretty sure I recapped the finale of hard suit. So we wrapped up our hard suit game and had a huge finale. Just to touch on it again, I'm not sure I did a full video about this, but if you guys followed the whole hard suit campaign, it wound up being, I believe, 17 sessions total. And there was this ship that the bad guys were going to use to escape the planet because the planet's sort of eroding. But the ship was designed to fold space in such a way it was going to destroy part of this planet just to launch. And so we went all through all this stuff and through some final challenges and a lot of role playing, and basically reached a point where the ship was modified to launch safely. And my players, who are, of course, heroes of the realm, but kind of like mid-grade heroes of the realm, they weren't like they didn't reach that high fantasy mark of being like, the universe savers. They're kind of in the middle of an overall effort to save this world. And they got a chance to get on this ship and safely be on the cadre of people who were going to go to the whatever frontier lies beyond, like, hyperspace, because Atria is doomed. The world that happens that hard suit happens on has a limited lifespan, and nobody even knows how long that lifespan is. Could be 50 years, could be 500. Nobody really knows. And so my players are given the chance to get on this ship. And the first one, Cypher, who's our everlasting, she gets on the ship and she looks back. And I got to say, one of the all-time most legendary role-playing moments, Jimmy, who plays Quark in our group, he sees this and he just says, "No, I'm going to stay. This is my home. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to ride it out to the end." And then also Gendry, who is sort of his dedicated protector, also saw the courage in this little kid. Basically a kid who's just not afraid of riding this planet into oblivion. And he says, I have to stay with him. I've pledged to protect him, so I'm going to stay too. So 1 out of 3 players got onto this ship, and they watched this little dot go out to safe distance out by this moon, and then it folds space and just vanishes. And that was the end of the hard suit campaign. And it was crazy. It was crazy. A crazy, sad, and yet super courageous and extremely fulfilling end to not the longest campaign in the world. 17 episodes is not that huge of a game, but it did take us almost a year to play that. So, playing about twice a month, sometimes a little more because of scheduling and stuff. But what a great experience that ending was, and that feeling of like, no, you go ahead. You've always wanted to see the frontier. We're gonna stay here a while. Like, I love that ending of the original movie, The Thing, where they really have no way of figuring out who the alien is, if even one of them is the alien. They've just been struggling so long through the whole story. They just kind of say, how about if we just kind of just rest a minute? How about if we just sort of stay here? Let's just ride this out for just a second. And it just makes such an acquiescent ending. It's just like a very full feeling, and then it's a bit of a ride off into a sunset kind of vibe. So that was great. And that was the end of Hard Suit. A quick props out to everybody out there who's playing Hard Suit. Hard Suit is a little bit of a weird version of fantasy, with these kind of odd organic mecha armor suit things. And I'm really proud of it as a creative effort on my part. Like, doing all the art was super fun. I really am proud of the uniqueness and the oddity of the writing. But I think that Hard Suit has a little bit of a limited audience because it's a little hard to fully understand. Is it sci-fi or is it fantasy? It's somewhere in between. Kind of like Nausicaa, if you're familiar with that, lives in this realm between sci-fi and fantasy. And that realm can be difficult for some people to fill in with their imagination. They're not sure if they're supposed to fill it in with like spaceships or swords or both, or what's going on and how do those go together. And it's very understandable. So kind of moving on from Hard Suit, and holy crap, have we moved into 2023 with 2023 coming in hot, y'all. Coming in seriously hot. And not even necessarily because of stuff that I'm working on. I'm really only working on one thing with all my passion. But I've been super fortunate to be involved in 2 amazing projects, which started well back in 2022, the middle of 2022 or even beyond, that are just now coming to land. And those two obviously are the incomparable Shadow Dark by the Arcane Library and the second Easy D6 book. So just really, really feeling super psyched and fortunate to have worked on two of these, because this is like what I wanted to do from the beginning. I wanted to affect this hobby by putting out materials that I was proud of, that spoke for me and like sort of my angle on things, right? Which is, for better or for worse, is not really matched to the kind of the D&D by name, the 5th edition kind of version of D&D. Was never really what me and my players. So I've wanted to express myself in that way, and just have been, thanks to everybody here, and everybody who pays my bills on Patreon, who keeps the lights on. I know that Patreon to some people feels like a paywall, or they say you bunker down in Patreon. It's like somehow hiding from the world or something. But you can be a patron on my site for $1. I mean, that's the lowest I can set it, and get all the things that are there. Also, Patreon, I gotta say, seems more durable than some of the social media stuff out there. Social media as the number one way to communicate, it actually, you go into this kind of sea, this kind of churn, and I feel like it's very hackable, and it seems to, I don't know. I mean, I was utterly hacked into oblivion on Facebook and Instagram, but I've never had any problems on Patreon. So in that regard, I really don't see a reason to throw shade at Patreon. And I try to keep that $1 pledge level, so that it doesn't feel like a paywall. So there's that. Yeah, it's $12 a year. I mean, so that's that. It's one craft beer and a tip per year. Anyway. So wow, it's been great to be part of Shadow Dark, and now to be part of Easy D6 Book 2. But again, I'm really not here to talk about that stuff. I'm sure you guys can find all that stuff on the internet if it's something you're interested in. The final thing I really wanted to talk about is Dirty Jobs. Holy shit. So as many of you know, Dirty Jobs is my sort of stalwart, invincible D&D group. These are my homies. They are now coming up on 3 years of continuous play. We're in session 38 overall, session 7 of season 2. So season 2 is where we made new characters and kind of progressed the storyline and stuff. And now my players have decided to try to cure the plague of vampirism in the realm by going directly to its source, which is this mysterious thing called Caligos. They are starting to think it's not even maybe a living or an unliving creature. It's some kind of thing or some kind of phenomenon. It's referred to as the River of Blood. They don't really know what they're up against, and they don't know where it is. So what they're doing is they're delving into the deepest known depths in the realm, which is this crazy mega dungeon called Runmanir in my new world, Crown and Skull. So Runmanir is this, ultra deep dwarven super dungeon, and they have struggled their way all the way down. If you guys saw some of my recent pictures, you saw this, but I can throw some more up. Patreon is kind of now where I'm throwing my pictures these days from all the tabletop sessions. But basically, they found their way down and down and down. I told this whole story about the cursed armor that happened. And then they go into this forge, this deep dwarven forge. There's a forge titan there. So it's this huge iron construct of fire and dwarven armor that's working on something on this anvil. They come in. They kind of don't necessarily want to fight this thing. They're friends of the dwarves and don't really feel like this is something they should battle, but it gets angry and irritated with them when they first make contact. It releases a couple of its abilities. They realize right away this will kill us near instantly if we fuck with it, so maybe we should kind of think our way around it. So they kind of start sneaking. They're still being pursued by some flamekin from the previous room, so time isn't completely free. They start figuring out this room, and largely this room is a bit of a sort of a power-up or a resource room for them, assuming that they don't get wiped out by the Forge Titan. That's kind of the short version of the room design here. We have a lot of treats in this room, including these diamonds, which can be chipped off, and each little chip can be destroyed in the future to replenish an expended spell. So quite a handy thing for people deep in a dungeon where there's not a lot of rest. And then 3 chests where we used Shadow Dark to generate some high-end treasure for these guys down in this dwarven forge. But even these are just the treats. The real purpose of this room is this forged titan is forging these bolts over and over and using these big bolt like these rivets to keep this big door shut. And this door is constantly straining from behind, and like one of the bolts breaks and pops out, so he gets back to his little workspace there with his hammer and his forge, and he heats up the bolt and mends it and twists it and threads it back in. And that's like his job for eternity. So while they deal with the flamekin, some of the other characters move forward, and especially my druid, who is sort of one of our more imaginative role players for sure. We have kind of emotional role players, and we have tactical role players, and then we have like imaginative role players. But so, anyways, I don't think even intending to do this, he takes animal form of a crow just to get a better view of the room and try to figure out what they might be able to do with this door, because they've come a long way to find this door. Meanwhile, they reunite with a friend who's been lost in the dungeon for missed a session, basically. So they're working on that, trying to free her from the rubble. And this crow flies up to look around, and the dwarven forge titan is sort of watching it fly around. And there's sort of a weird moment that happens, and my player, who's in crow form, like makes this crow charisma roll. So we have to kind of do some looking up in our books, like how does a crow make a charisma check and stuff like this. But he makes it almost like a crit, right? And this critical charisma roll. So the Forge Titan, I'm like, wow, what would he do? So he raises up his big badass iron and fire dwarven arm for this crow to land on it. And still, I don't want to just give away the farm here. So when the crow lands, its little crow feet burn because this thing is made out of hot iron, right? But again, my player makes the roll, makes the constitution roll to not flinch back from the intense heat of this armor. Otherwise, none of this would have worked. And then once this crow is perched on this titan's arm, he sort of like breathes out a little bit. He's like finally feels rest. And in my mind, dwarves always will have a soft spot for ravens and crows. They're Odin's bird, right? They're the Norse messenger bird. They're the scout bird of the Allfather. And like, to me, dwarves have a real affinity toward ravens and crows. And so this titan has this crow perched on his big armored arm, and basically the crow sort of gives him this kind of almost unspoken statement that he can rest now, that it's over. And so this titan, for the first time in centuries, kind of like the flames lower on these big back vents that he has, and he sort of calms down, and he sees like these are like almost the masters he's been waiting for, because there haven't been dwarves in this part of Runmanir for decades because of orc invasions and all this other backstory stuff, right? So meanwhile, our fighting contingent is handling the flamekin. They're starting to beat down the flamekin. They had a couple of mishaps where they multiplied, but they've got this fight kind of contained while all this role-playing is going on. And then they come up and basically say, your duty is done. It's time to open the door to the deepest parts of Runmanir. And this means removing these big bolts. And this Forge Titan is relieved. They have bypassed probably one of the most dangerous foes we've ever really faced, but they didn't make it a foe. And I love when stuff like that happens. So they remove the bolts from this door. And the minute this door is opened, this wave of sort of magical wind, there's this weird wind that comes out that everybody has to save versus magic. And those who fail to save go into this dream. They go into this dream state, and each one is different. Each dream is tailored to the dreamer, and they're having these long overdue dreams. And since my group has been playing now together for about 3 years, I have this whole history that we share to tap to narrate what their dreams could be. So one example is our character Ravel is the daughter of this player's previous character Bespo, who is now deceased. And in Ravel's dream, she sees her father, which crazily enough is a character also played by the same player. And her father, she hasn't seen her father in so long, and is drawn toward him in this sunny field, this field of beautiful grass, and the sun is kind of beating down. And her father in this dream has this wooden ladle and is drinking from this cool stream and invites her over. She fails the save versus magic a second time and goes over. And as she's drinking this cool water in this dream, snaps out of the dream state and realize she is drinking like this elemental, rusty, sandy blood from like a trickling stream in this cavern. The dream is dissipated now, and she is drinking like blood in one of its most essential forms. This is like vampiric, uh, what do you call it? Contaminant? No, this is contagion. This is vampiric contagion in its most refined form down in the depths of the earth, drinking this huge cup full of it. And we realize, oh shit, there's no way to talk your way out of it. You just drank the blood of sires. How long until you turn? So we do a couple dice rolls to kind of mitigate to get a middling roll because we don't want a too swingy of a roll. And so it's 14 rounds is what we come up with a multi D4 round roll. In 14 rounds of play, Ravel will become a vampire. There's no way to stop it except the mission that they're already on, which is to undo the Lord of all Sires. So this is now coming into the final bits of the session. The other players are experiencing dreams, but they manage to make these highly difficult rolls to pull out of this magical dream state, and they are in a hub room of the lowest depths of Runmanir, of this mega dungeon. And from this hub room, dwarves went no further. So there are a dozen different passages. And then we begin to use a system that you guys know I use a lot, which is when you're this deep in the earth, there is no map. Everything is a dice roll. So when you pick a passage, does it go up or does it go down? Is it a dead end or is it something that makes you slide? Is there water in there? There is no map. You just use dice. And as soon as my players can get 6 descents, so they go down 6 times, they will reach their destination. But the dice are cruel. So they go down twice and they're like, oh my God, we're practically there. But then they roll and they go up twice. And then, since we're also playing Shadow Dark right now, they realize they're out of light sources. So desperate, they already had run out of light sources, but they used a nun's habit wrapped around a broken pole with goblin grease as the accelerant. And this was the first time the nun in our group had ever removed her habit, you know, the flowing headdress that nuns wear. And just by removing it, for the first time, she lets out her massive blonde hair. And I gave her an instant and permanent +1 charisma for this. So, like, she's finally under duress down in the depths of the earth, relinquished the modesty of the nun's habit. And this huge head of like a gorgeous corn silk hair is revealed. Everybody's like, oh my God, it's amazing. So that was a fun moment too. But they burn that torch, and when that one runs out, they're out of light sources, period. And when that happens in Shadow Dark, you instantly have an encounter roll. We roll an encounter roll. We have lizard folk crawling out from this cavern, and the lizard folk have parasitic centipedes crawling on them, according to this encounter roll. We're like, what? Okay, weird. A battle ensues. The centipedes were actually the bigger threat. They get through that, and now we're facing the next set of rolls, and that's where we call the session. There's one other thing in the session I wanted to tell you guys about that's absolutely insane. It's when you get haunted rolls. So I don't know if you guys use this term in your groups, but a haunted roll is when something is completely random, you're using dice, and yet it fits with such twisted perfection, it gives you the heebie-jeebies. Okay, so now bear with me and we'll get to the QA, okay? These guys are on a mission to destroy something they don't even fully know what it is, a river of blood. They don't really know what the river of blood truly is. The third high-value treasure chest that was in the forge that I mentioned earlier, we're using the Shadow Dark item creation tables, which usually involve about 4 separate rolls in a page spread to create a unique item, right? The results intercombine from the tables to create items. It's a great way to make magic items. This one that comes out is a Mastercraft bow, and it has like all these rose motifs and red colored rose motifs etched on the bow. And then we're rolling for its strange ability. And its ability, this is insane, rolled on a dice, is that when it contacts blood, meaning blood that it would draw probably from, firing at an opponent in the general sense, it changes the blood to rose petals. Now, normally, a player would get this item and be like, so what? Right? I mean, it's a neat flourish, I guess. and it had like a +2 stat bonus on it. I mean, I guess it's kind of a cool flourish. But think about this in the context of their mission. They're going to attack some kind of river made out of blood. And they find this item that can change blood into rose puddle. It's absolutely amazing. So the first question that comes up is this a chain reactive effect? Because this could be like a nuclear weapon for the foe that we are potentially going to face. And before I answer that question or let the dice answer that question, I call the session. So that's what happened in Dirty Jobs session 38, session 2.7. So session 2, session 7. So next we actually got an Airbnb, and we are going to play a 2-day marathon to hopefully find a finale for season 2. And then we're going to have a couple weeks off. And then as summer gets going, we are going to go into season 3. So that is where I'm at with Dirty Jobs. Let's open it up. Remember, if you have any questions for me whatsoever, they are, of course, welcome. And it's harder to find me nowadays a little bit because I'm not on Facebook or Instagram anymore. So now's your chance. Put question in all caps and holla at your boy. Yeah, I did actually. Lee, now I actually have been using wave synthesis now, wavetable synthesis, and I did create the entire soundtrack for my upcoming release, Crown and Skull. So you'll be able to get that on Spotify. And I'm be doing playlists for my adventure releases that are coming out. If those of you who got Crow's Cage, thanks for hooking that up. But again, I'm trying not to get on YouTube to just be like, here is my list of products. It's more just to be here and stay in touch with everybody. The main reason for staying is I just have really learned to love this city and have really changed as a person more than I anticipated. Patrick, my Facebook and Instagram accounts got hacked and were destroyed. They're non-recoverable. And so it actually gave me a moment to reflect, and I really prefer life without Facebook and Instagram, to be totally honest. I think they can have a strange effect on one's daily mood and one's daily time. I don't think a lot of us ever volunteered to do the social media life. I think it was something that was come up with by software engineers and profiteers. I don't think any of us ever said, yeah, let's do this. I kind of think life is a little better without it, honestly. But that's just me. I'm not throwing shade on anybody. Hey, thanks, House DM. I appreciate that. By the way, hey, what's up? Chris, would you ever consider compiling some of your favorite art? Boy, this keeps coming up, Chris. This is insane. I'm getting 1 to 3 daily requests to do a Runehammer art book. Is that insane or what? I would like to get to that, yes. So I need to get everything that's in flight this year figured out. And that would be a monumental task. And this is not a weird flex or anything. I've just been doing art and stuff for so long. It would be monumental to gather it all into a book, but it sure would be neat. So, Chris, you are heard and appreciated. Just give me some time to work on that, okay? Stick with me. I'm just one dude. Yeah, it is like a neato druid web. It's really, really cool. Just a really neat moment in our game. Hey, Jesse, what's up? You were digging into Elden Ring. Yeah, I actually finished it. Elden Ring was amazing. I'm not going to do additional journeys. I'm kind of glad Elden Ring is over. It really does take over your life, but absolutely brilliant and ingenious and inventive look at what fantasy can be. Easily in my top 3 video games of all time. Really enjoyed it, but also kind of glad it's over. And the builds I were doing, I did an archery build. I did a colossal sword build. Those really were the only 2 I ever did seriously. Yeah. What an amazing game. And just the creative vision of that game of what fantasy could be is so not tired. You know, a lot of times people think fantasy is sort of tired, but I honestly think that's just a lack of imagination. And Elden Ring just shows how inventive and strange fantasy can really be. Real-time torches. Yeah, we do them. We do them on and off. We do a bit of a mixture. We're not real purists with real-time torches. It can make the game feel quite frenetic. But I think if you're going to do real time torches, it's best to kind of really go all in on it and get a feel for it first, and then decide where your table rests in real time versus non real time. But it's a novel idea, it's a great idea, and it's an old and proven idea. Anyone who's ever used a sand timer at their table knows what real time mechanics are like at the table, and they're really fun, but they are a little bit nerve wracking. What This is a fun one from Suiza. Um, what's a big factor for the longevity of the Dirty Jobs crew? Well, we were friends before we were a D&D group. Also, everyone but me, a newcomer to D&D, and I, no slant on anyone out there who's been playing D&D forever, like myself, but a lot of times players that are brand new to D&D come in with so many fewer assumptions and stuff. They really have that tabula rasa feel, which I think gives them enthusiasm, gives them energy. But most of all, it's our friendship, our bond as friends is very strong, and we hang out in other ways besides D&D, um, and we just enjoy each other's company. So we're always excited to get back to the table. Crown and Skull, Ricardo asking about Crown and Skull, my flagship release. I hope my best release that I've ever created. I really think, yeah, I really stand by it, and it is taking me a very long time to get it where I feel it's great, but it is coming soon. It's definitely coming like here toward the end of spring. It will be done. I'm getting in that moment where the writing is, I'll like scroll ahead, like, okay, let's do the next million things, and I'll come to the end of a section. That's like an amazing feeling. So definitely closing in on it, and just stay tuned on my various outlets, and I'll be talking about it as it flies into the hangar, so to speak. Yo, Patrick C, what's up? Future mods for Shadow Dark. I'm not doing mods, no, but I am doing a series of adventures all throughout 2023. The Crow's Cage is the first one. The second one is Cry of the Stingbat, and I'll probably do 3 to 5 more as the year goes on, because I love doing adventures for Shadow Dark and kind of playing with this aesthetic. And also, I had a creative part in Shadow Dark, and I'm super proud to be part of it. I want to feed that fire, absolutely. Um, Nimluth, have you read the Earthsea books? I have not. We've talked about that a few times. I just need to get around to it. Right now, I'm reading a collection of weird fiction from the vintage British short story archives. One of them called Ghost Slayers, and I just finished another one called Into the Depths. These are all short stories from the late 19th century, which is really the language period that I like the most, and so this is really my jam. Somewhat challenging reading, I must admit, but these really are my style of stories. A lot like the new film, The Pale Blue Eye. I absolutely love that film. That's kind of where my imagination lives, is in that kind of space. Eric, what's up? Hey, you're not so bad yourself. Thanks for your efforts. Right on. Have you used online random generators? I don't. No, I do. We do roll dice on tables from books, but I don't use online tools like that. Nothing against them. Rock on. I just don't use them. I like them though. You like hit a button and it just generates stuff for you, like the Morkborg character creator. So I lied. I did use the Morkborg character creator when I played Morkborg a few weeks ago. Um, do you have more tidbits for publishing or lessons? Oh man. Well, if you really want lessons, like Kelsey Dion from Arcane Library is where the lessons at. She is a master publisher, but I have my own kind of role. Be good at art direction and art curation. Have a little bit of skill, and at least a little bit of skill in every area. And this is where I need to stretch some muscles, like the publishing portion, actually warehousing books and using tools like Quartermaster and BackerKit and stuff. That's my final frontier, and I need to do this year. I need to do that this year because I want to print my own books and warehouse my own books. Modifius has been more than kind to me. They've been a great partner, but I am growing to a point now. I want to, and not even drive through RPG. I'm talking about using my own press resources to warehouse my own books, to sell them direct. And I don't want this to sound like a bake sale. This isn't just talking about the industry side of what I do, but the creative satisfaction. I want to do the first to the end, to the last, the beginning to the end. I want to do it and know it. That's like been my journey. And as of April 10th, actually, just a few days from now, it'll be 8 years that Runehammer's been in business. So that's pretty crazy. So that's really what I want. I want to be a book creator, and own and know that. That's just something I want to take to Valhalla. I want all those skills. So I have some more learning to do. Um, During Dirty Job Caesars 1, the newer players in the group had started to use a chemical warfare style plan. Yeah, no, the bad guys were using chemical warfare, and our players considered using some of these like sprayers, and we actually opted against it. Poison gas was something my players were not willing to use. That just did not happen. The player did stick with the group, yeah. Um, okay, for someone limited cash, what book would you recommend? Shadow Dark, Easy to Crown and Skull. Well, those are just all such different flavors. I can offer you a free PDF copy of ECD6 if you just email me. Again, everything I make for anyone watching, if you're experiencing financial hard times, just email me directly, and I will try to get you the free PDFs of anything that I can, which is usually a lot. So don't misuse such an offer, please. But yeah, that's just part of wanting to be part of the community and stuff. As far as what's to choose, it would less be about value per dollar than style. Those are three very different styles. Crown and Skull hasn't really been revealed what its style is yet, so I hope that's an answer. Um, I don't know if this is too basic, but what do you feel about publishing books on KDP? It's great. It's great. My trilogy still sells great on KDP, and I love that outlet. It's a little hard to get yourself noticed without a sort of an online presence of some kind, but the quality of the books is great. The tools are easy to use, and obviously Amazon really has great shipping prices and all that stuff. So I'm all for it. Um, I just wanted to say I'm glad doing this stuff. Hey, right on, man. Hey, you misused the question tag, Charles. Thanks a lot, though. I appreciate that a lot. I get so many kind words, and I'm very fortunate for that. Everybody's very kind to me with this wacky weirdness that I'm so deeply involved in. So I'm ever, ever grateful. Um, Holly Molly, hello. Statement. You rock. Yeah, so that is most of our catch up for Friday here. It's going to be Runehammer Day in a couple days. Usually something crazy happens on that day. So super excited. And yeah, wow. 23 is just coming in so hot. There's been so much to do. But now there's a cool vibe to it. Like, I'm just in it. I'm in this year. We're doing this thing. Get more maps on my store. And so I love releasing big maps. And yeah, there's a lot of fun to come here. What system or kit bash will Dirty Jobs Season 3 be? Fun question, S5. And what's up, my man? How you doing? We're using Crown and Skull all the way. So Season 3 will be Crown and Skull. And I probably have the Shadow Dark book on call because the tables in Shadow Dark are damn cool. They really are. They're really fun. Also, Shadow Dark has, the classic D&D monsters in it, which you're always going to want in a fantasy game. It's just, Okay, anyway, Ricardo, what's up? The difference between Crown and Skull, the paths. I've only revealed it to the very small editorial group that exists on the Runehammer Discord. They have seen everything as it's been evolving. But, I mean, it doesn't take Sherlock Holmes to know that, the crown, if you choose the crown, you tend to be, sort of like lawful good. If you choose the skull, you tend to be like chaotic neutral. Creative process. Yeah, when I sit down to write, which I do a great deal of, yeah. Do I do outlines and everything? No, I am a discovery writer like Stephen King. I have no idea where things are going. If they stick and I return to them and I start to really love them, they tend to unfold. And if they're either bad ideas or just don't have any length or longevity in them, they tend to fizzle. And that's how I kind of choose what to keep growing and what to keep working on. I like to discover my book as if I were reading it when I'm writing it, which I know sounds a little insane, but that's the excitement to me and what keeps me working. Do you ship physical to Europe or would you recommend digital? Well, it depends on budgetary limitations. But yeah, like Viking Death Squad and ICRPG Master Edition are available through Modifius, and they'll ship to you right from London. Um, but that's another nut that I just need to crack is international shipping and making it affordable and stuff. But hard question to answer a little bit. Death Squad, I would say, is very easy to convert to ICRPG. I like to think that almost anything is. My synth music, I am. Is it Azael the Defiler? Is the podcast where you can find my older FM synth music. My playlists are available under the name BEE on Spotify. And I think there's a SoundCloud out there from way back in the day called B-Rate, BR8. That's me. Good luck finding all that. I'll do a Patreon post later this week with like all my music in one easy set of links so that everybody can kind of get to all that stuff. It's just a nice break from everything I do to tinker around and be terrible at music and try to get some results, like making like weird soundscape type stuff. My campaign stories lose consistency and start lacking coherent setting. How to fix it? Well, you got to harvest the dynamics of what players are doing and how they are tend to be sometimes random and scrambly. You've got to harvest them into directions. And I would just talk openly to your players. I would say, hey guys, I feel like we're kind of losing some consistency here. How do you think we could get it back? Like, just be completely out in the open with it, see what they say, and make it a conversation. Tips for staying focused on one game. Oh yeah, I started a campaign and then a month or two I switched games entirely. Aaron, just don't. I don't think there's an easy answer here because I can't get inside your head or be like a little devil on your shoulder. Just don't do it. Just don't switch game systems. Satisfy yourself by researching all kinds of things, but as far as what brings players to the table, just hold ground on it. Just make a resolution with yourself to hold that ground and just satisfy yourself with side research. I do have maps for sale, runehammer.online. And I'll have ever more. I'm also starting to offer DIY maps too. So there are these big rendered maps that are 3 feet by 2 feet that have no names on them, so that you can kind of make them your own. So hop on over there. Trudvang. Yeah, not a big fan of Trudvang. The art was amazing and stuff, but maybe the translation made it a little strange, but it's a little like, thank you, no thank you kind of mood. But, again, with all this stuff, no shade on things that people may love. A bare minimum game to run badass sci-fi blasting zombies in the city for a one-shot. I would absolutely do easy D6s, practically made for what you're describing right there. Absolutely made for it. All right, guys, it is almost 4:30. I'm going to get out of here. So nice to see all of you again here on YouTube. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I'm Hankering Furnail. Remember, don't hesitate to just hit me up if there's something you want to talk about. You can keep up with all my stuff either on the Runehammer Discord. We have Runehammer forums. We have my Patreon, blah, blah, blah. You all know how to use the internet. I'm sure I will hear from you and see your cool projects soon. I'm going to keep playing all these games. We are going up to the Poconos next weekend to play in a cabin together to get like plenty of focused play time. And I could not be, just look for all these pictures. I'm going to take plenty of pictures throughout the whole experience. Could not be more fortunate with the friends that have chosen to be around my craziness and the projects that I've been a part of. So, yeah, let's have one more Suiza. Sure, why not? And then we're going to get on out of here. What's your question there? So tasty. And the weird slurping noise at the end is oddly satisfying. Oddly satisfying. Some kind of suction problem. It's all very serious. Crossfire war game. The only Crossfire game I know is the one where you shoot the little thing and the little marbles are going on. It's super freaking fast and it's completely insane. And then one kid bumps the table and all the stupid marbles go everywhere. And then there's another kid choking on one. The guy has a marble shooting out his nose. Those were the days. Anyway, you guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm Hankering Furnail. Let's just keep doing this awesome stuff together. Go make that world a little bit more better than you found it. All right. Strength, honor, and beer. I'll be right here. Later. Go tell it on the mountain. Go tell it on the mountain. Go tell it on the mountain. Nibbling my nose is here. And put whey protein in your beer.